Hello everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to draw, how to sketch out an object, how to sketch out a bottle, how to sketch out, something that you want to draw, how to do a proper sketch, where to start, and then how to get it to actual drawing that you're actually going to work from. So I chose this bottle as my object. It has a lid that comes out. I wanted something a little more complicated than just a regular old, vase or glass, just something that had some different shapes to it so I could show you guys. So when you draw something, you're going to put it in front of yourself. With this, you also want to keep in mind where your shadows are on the table. And you want to keep in mind how it's placed, because you're going to be drawing an object. That's your first project before we start the still life. I want to concentrate on just one thing instead before we do multiples. So wherever you place this and the exact angle that it's on and the lighting and everything else, you want to try and make sure it's the same every single day that you draw it, so that you aren't working on it and then having to change it as you go through because you realize the highlights are different or the shadows are different. So just make sure that wherever you place this is where you're going to place it. If you're on a surface, like I'm on this art table that is easily cleanable, you could technically draw a line around it so you would know where to find it the next, like with a pencil, actually draw on your desk. However, if you're sitting at your kitchen table, dining room table, something that you don't want to be drawing on, do not do that, but it can help. Potentially. You could also put tape on the table and then draw on the tape too if you want to make sure you're in the same exact spot every day. So the first thing I want to do is I know that I want to do my sketch on here, and what I would do is when you choose your object or from multiple objects, the first thing you want to do is do 5 quick sketches just to do different points of view and kind of see which one you find the most interesting. When you're working, you never ever ever want to start with your first sketch because that's not necessarily always your best idea. As you do more sketches, as you're forced to be a little more creative, and then you actually come up with some better things, maybe some better options that you hadn't thought of. Like if I just draw this like this, then I'm missing out on so many different points of view that I could do. So the first thing I want to do is, I know I have to do 5 sketches. I'm going to do 5 quick boxes on here. So quick boxes. That gives me 5 little rectangles to do my 5 sketches in. They're already on the tape, on the paper. I know exactly where they're going to go, and I can do them really quickly. So the first sketch is just my my beginning sketch, where I'm just like, oh, this is just my normal bottle on this piece of paper. Now, because I know that I don't want to just always start with my first, I'm going to do it from a couple different points of view. So if this is my thing here, and then I've got and I'll show you once we start, I'll show you how to draw a sketch like this. But sketches are always quick. They're always to get your idea down. So you shouldn't spend a ton of time working on your idea, especially in this phase, because it can change. And I don't want you spending all of your time working on this when, I'd rather you spend your time working on the finishing, doing the actual project. So I've got that one right there. I've got, maybe I want to take this off. Kind of similar but different. I've got the stopper right here. And then I would do 2 more. Maybe I want to put it like this. So it's upside down on the table. Also, make sure whatever your object you choose is something that's not super valuable, just in case it gets knocked over. And then maybe I want to draw it on the back. Actually, I'd laid this one out that way, so maybe I want to draw it this way. Then I have the stopper down here. All right, so these are all kind of somewhat interesting, and then hopefully I have one that I'd like better than the rest. So I kind of like this point of view because it's interesting and it's more interesting to draw. So now this is the back. I've got my 5 sketches. You're going to take a picture. You're going to submit these 5 sketches to me so I can see them. And then you're going to turn over and you're going to do your actual sketch on this piece of paper right here. So the 5 sketches are on the back. Then you're going to start your sketch on here. You're going to use pencil, obviously, because if you mess up, you can erase it. But you also want to use pencil so you can fix your mistakes. Kind of, play around with placement. So mine's a little more challenging because I have 2 pieces that I would draw. For you, I'm going to actually draw it this way just because most of you, more than likely, you're going to have one object that's going to be vertical. That's going to take up your page. And I want to show you guys how you are supposed to draw, how you're supposed to start. So the first thing you want to do is notice, is my piece more vertical, up and down, or is it more horizontal? So if my piece is horizontal, I want to hold my paper horizontally because it's longer than it is high. And then I would draw it longer than it is high. If my object that I'm drawing is more vertical, then you want to hold your paper vertically so you have more space. It's taller than it is wide. And the first thing you want to do is lay out some ground points. So I always start with my bottom. This is the line I want my bottom of the bottle to fit on. Because I want to take up this whole entire piece of paper. What I don't want to do is draw a tiny little bottle out in the center. I want to take all this paper up. And then I'm going to draw a line at the top that's going to represent where the top of it should be. So now I have the top and the bottom. I know I want to fit this bottle in between these lines. And then the next thing I want to draw is the main axis line, which is whether it's vertical or horizontal. So mine is vertical again, and it's symmetrical, meaning it's the same on both sides. We talked about that when we talked about balance, symmetrically balanced, it's the same. So I'm going to have a vertical line that goes down the center. And you don't need a ruler. You can see my line's a little curved. Doesn't matter. This is just to give you spots to lay your project out and where it'll fit, where you know it's going to fit. So this is the bottom of the bottle. This is the top of the bottle. So now what I do is I break it down into proportions. Remember we talked about proportion, like parts to a whole? So if I measure with my fingers, just like this, from the bottom of this bottle until this belly, where it comes out and starts going in, I measure it with my fingers, and I literally take my hand, I move it up, and see how much space that covers. What I'm trying to figure out is where roughly halfway is between the top and the bottom. So this is how big the bottom part is once it bellies out. If I move that up, I see I still have a little bit left on the top, so it's not halfway all the way. I have a little bit more to go. So I know this is a little below halfway, so then I will make a line like maybe below halfway here. So this is where this goes. This goes here. This is not as much as, this is bigger than this. So if I measure this just like I measured the bottle, it should roughly put me at the same spot that I did it on here if I did it right. So now you can also use your finger with your pencil, so you can eyeball it, so you line up your pencil, the top of your pencil with something that you want to be, and for me that's the top right here where this lip is, and then my bottom is right here on this edge where it starts to belly out, and I can see how big that is compared to other things. I can compare it. So comparing parts to a whole, that's what proportion is. That's how you draw objects. You compare sizes, compare parts to a whole. Like this stopper is this big. So how many stoppers is my bottle? 1, 2, 3, which will make it easy. That means I can divide this into quarters. So if this is how big my stopper is, I come down 1, 2, 3. If I divide this into quarters, which means if I divide this in half, it's a little more than half, divide it in half, use my fingers to measure, not quite half. It's pretty close, but not quite. And then you can erase these lines as you go along. That's why we're putting lines in. That's why we're putting anchor marks in. If I started drawing this and I started with one little corner and then it comes in here and then this, and if I mess it up by slowly drawing the outline of everything, then I've wasted all that time. So this is how you do it, by getting little points, like direction points, if you're following directions. This will help you lay it out when you're done. So like I said, this is halfway. The stopper is 1, and then there's 3 stoppers in the bottle. So 1, 2, 3. 1. It's a little too big. So I know this, I like this, I like this. This should be up here. So anything that you can do to help yourself lay this out before you even start. So this is where my stopper ends. So, and use your pencil to line things up too. Are the lines straight up and down, which they are. And then see, I'm just quickly drawing, and then this comes down here. And then I've got an ellipse. Ellipses are these the circles, like the bottom, where it comes down, and this part, the opening up top. So ellipses, you can start just by drawing them in a circle, like an oval like that. Any object that you have, every ellipse is the same. So this curve is the same as this curve, is the same as this curve. So round it out here. Remember, I drew this before. This is where it starts to belly out. So this ellipse right here is going to be the same as this one here. And I can compare how much further out this comes from here. I can either make a line, like line it up with my pencil, so you guys can see that. Line it up with my pencil. Or I can just take notice this comes out this far, whereas this comes out this far. So this is a rough sketch, obviously. You can see how rough this is. Like, compare parts to a whole. This lip right here comes out just as far as this. So I want to make sure when I draw this, that it's going to come out just as far as that. Now, the way an ellipse works is that this front curve is a mimic. It's a mirror image of the back. So it's the same circle. So however far down this curves in the front, it's going to curve up on the back. So if you drew a line through it and flipped it over, it should be like a sandwich or like a hamburger where it's exactly the same on both sides. So that's something to keep in mind when you're working with rounded edges. So, rounded edges, we're going to round this part right here. This is the lip of that glass. You'll see how it comes in a little bit. I can see like this neck comes in it's a little in towards the center more than this sticks out, so I know that. And because I know this is symmetrical and this is my center line, I should also, like, this distance ought to be the same as this distance. So use it to help yourself. Use it to help you. Like that. So then I can continue to, like, draw your parts out. So you can use this as it flares out. Try and see where things are lined up. Like, use your pencil to help you. You know, if you're not sure exactly what's going on, use your pencil to help guide you. And count too. Like, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ridges that I see. So 1, 2. Draw the line where the stopper kind of ends. Like, actually see how many are there. Not that you're drawing, like, teeth. A lot of times people just draw teeth and they just randomly draw a ton of teeth. Actually see how many things are there, how many things you need to fit in. So what did I say, 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. And I find also, if I work from each side, that I make sure that I fit everything where it needs to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8, 9. Just know that it like curves to it. So because this circle comes out like this, I need to make sure these curves come out like that. And then they're going to go down. Now with your objects also look and see like the bottom doesn't just sit on here. Like if you look at, there's like a thick glass on the bottom. So the same thing is going to happen down here. You need to make sure you actually see the bottom. Bring these lines straight down. Remember, this curve is going to be the same as this curve down here. You can use a ruler to help you draw things out if it makes it easier, but don't get too like attached to it, because in real life there are not sharp, hard edges by straight line, by a straight edge there. Now because you have also like this is so warped because these lines are in the front, so my lines in the back, like you're seeing through your glass. So that means that you're going to draw all the things that you see through it. So, and it's going to warp. It's going to be warped because you're looking at it through different angles and thicknesses of glass that are just going to warp it. So you're going to draw those things. You're drawing through it. You're drawing what you see through it. So this... Same thing here. You're going to draw all these little shadows and like these weird little like lines that you see here. And whatever's through your glass on the other side, you're going to be drawing that too. So I wouldn't put like your sister on the other side of it, because you're going to be drawing her through the glass, which is going to make it that much more complicated for you. So this top part has 1, 2, 3 that I see. So I just want to make sure that I draw my lines here. Straight up and down. And because it's on an angle, it's going to be like, they're going to be like weird lines. Same thing, these curves are going to be up here. So then I'm just going to continue drawing until I'm happy with what I have, until I like how it works, I like how it looks. Keep on going until it's all drawn out. Also, if you see, you're going to draw your shadow on here, just so you know where to shade it in. Now, at this point, like this obviously is not a part of my object, so I would just not draw that on there. But at this point in time, if I'm happy with everything and I like how it looks, then I trace it onto white paper, do all of my shading on the white paper. So do all of your drawing out on the manila paper. Make sure that you're happy with it. Like this is a little more curved, I think. Not like so squared off. And trace it onto good paper, and then you do your shading. So if it is easier, turn lights on or off so you have a direct light source, and then just start shading the bottle. And like I said, you're going to shade inside the bottle. So the more details that you can add to this, the better.